Hey there. This is going to be a reading in honor of the new moon partial solar eclipse happening the day before the autumnal equinox in the northern hemisphere. So if you clicked on this video, thank you so much. Let it be known that I've set my intention that this be in the highest good of any and all that tune in. And regardless of timing, if you're here, there's likely something for you to hear. And I hope that it's helpful. As always, take what you like and leave the rest. So, having said that, what you're seeing on the screen is a card pull that happened rather spontaneously. Uh, what happened was I was listening to an astrologer that I admire just do a short talk on the upcoming energies. And while I was listening, this deck was nearby. I happened to pick it up, and I just was like, "Well, what's the most important thing I need to know right now for this eclipse?" And pulled a card, and then the talk ended not long after that while I was shuffling. And then I decided to just keep going with it, but I didn't have any of my recording equipment set up. And honestly, it was so intuitive and spontaneous. I had no plans to share it, but when I was done and sitting with it and really looking at the message, I was like, I think I'm going to take a picture of this and then just go ahead and record some notes. Um, so, just changing it up a little bit. It's appropriate for eclipse season, and also you might have noticed that there is a moose on the cover, and yet there is no moose in this cards. Um, why that matters is because I saw a moose recently, had a sighting. It was pretty phenomenal, and I want to share about it. And actually, a couple other animal spirit wisdoms um, as part of my messages of what I bring um, to the space of the reading, in addition to this card pull, because it relates. So, having said all that, I actually had recorded this, and it glitched out and didn't get saved, and it was really kind of upsetting because the storytelling with encountering the moose was so exactly what I wanted it to be that I don't know that I can recreate it. And I actually got frustrated, and I didn't know if I was going to get this video out, but I'm just going to run with it. So I think I will save the animal, I want to say animal spirit messages until the end, but they weren't spirits because they were real life encounters. But I take that as a spiritual, like the sightings, to be significant enough to pay attention and look at the symbolism within it and share what the feelings are around it and how it relates to this message. So, having said all that, if you're looking at the screen and you look at this card pull, it basically is like there's also, it's a little bit cut off, but you'll see a blue butterfly in the bottom corner. And when I got done with the reading, I actually looked at the bottom of the deck, and it was the Temperance card. And that's significant because I didn't see a blue butterfly in real life, but I had done a recent Akashic Record read where I had asked what's the most important thing to know. And that had also shown up and then was like a reoccurring theme. Um, like an email campaign I normally run, someone else ran, but then when I got the email, they had the blue butterfly on it. And then just to see the symbolism keep showing itself felt significant. And then just yesterday, after I lost the recording that I really liked, I was fortunate enough to see a single deer followed by a herd of deer. So I'll talk about all that at the end of the reading if that interests you. And if you're only interested in the card pull, that first card is the King of Pentacles, and that's what came out as the most significant piece of information that we need to know around this eclipse. So to me, when I pulled the card, I just read that as we need some really firm, heavy grounding, but gentle masculine energy, and a willingness to confront things head on, like he's looking straight at the camera, but in a gentle, diplomatic way. And then also with that sand dollar with the purple ribbon at the center of forehead space, that this is like, how do we ground this long-term vision, which actually isn't very easy to do right now, considering the instability and chaos happening out there. But that was what was the most important thing to know. And I feel like if you just look at this elephant's gaze, there is just, you kind of get a sense of that, like letting your feet get a little heavier on the ground, or your seat getting a little heavier, or like just rooting into the body. It's like Pentacles is an earth sign, so this needing some masculine energy that is able to be gentle and direct, but in touch with the earth and rooted to the earth. And you know, in the traditional tarot, this relates to like financial prosperity, and or it could be this could also be a person in your life. And if you're lucky enough to have that, I would say to lean on them or ask them for help. And if you don't, how can you cultivate these qualities within yourself of rootedness, directness, gentleness, like that's what's needed now. So from there, the next question that I asked, and it might be cut off in the video, was, well, what are our blind spots right now? And the Ace of Cups reverse showed up. So in this deck, it's a little latte, and it's got a red ribbon, which this deck has correlations to all the chakra centers. So that would be the root chakra center, which is the survival, safety, security, survival, money, and that ribbon is running right into that King of Pentacles elephant, like further reinforcing that needing some grounding and safety. But the Ace of Cups reversed could be indicative of like what I heard was what fear is interfering, and then that would be with the new beginning. With the Ace of Cups, it could be new love, new beginning. So there's maybe some hesitation with something, and like a fear of getting hurt, or like, what is the fear for you that's interfering? Cups is also emotional, so there could be some repression happening. Emotional repression, which is easy to do, right? If you're feeling fear and it's too much, or it's too overwhelming, it's like kind of human nature to just shove it in the back closet and not look at it. But that King of Pentacles elephant is asking us to look, and so, you know, as it relates to fear, and this reading in particular, I wouldn't say feel the fear and do it anyways. That wouldn't be the message that came through. It would be to acknowledge the fear and then work with it. And sometimes just the act of acknowledging it or naming it can be beneficial. Or journaling about it, or talking to either a trusted friend or a professional that can hold. We want that someone that can like hold, be it another or ourselves, just can hold some serious space, like that King of Pentacles, to be able to work through whatever these emotions could be that are. I just kept hearing like there's like an interference. So, how sometimes if you just have like a really good cry, or someone just holds you while you have a really good cry, be it in a hug or a listening format, that it's almost as if like when the tears evaporate, it's like there isn't necessarily a solution that's come to be, but it's moved through, and then it opens up a space for something new. So that was in the position of what's in our blind spot. So hesitation, some kind of fear interfering with a new beginning or new love. And there was also this message of, like Ace of Cups, if that cup of coffee was upside down, it would dump out, right? So there was also this message of be careful, like don't empty yourself out for another, because if you were to hold that latte upside down, it would dump everywhere, right? So don't have your cup, if your cup's empty, it's just that message of make sure you have the energy before you give it. Otherwise, it's going to be further contributing to burnout and being ungrounded. So I also heard if you drink caffeine or lattes, like maybe lay off of them a little bit if they're not contributing to being able to stay focused, grounded, and direct on what matters. So the card pulled after that was, if you're looking at the screen beneath it, was the Empress Reverse. That also took me by surprise. I sat with it for a while, and I just kept hearing lack mentality. Empress is normally all four queens combined, and this very earthy, nurturing, abundant, feminine energy. She's got the Venus symbol around her neck, and in this deck she's a cute little seal with calm waters behind her. So it's like maybe the waters aren't so calm, or maybe there is an inability to find nurturance in the way that we really need externally right now, and or that we need to do that internally if it's not there externally. But a little bit of this like not necessarily mother energy, but that like nurturing energy, that like a nurturing, loving energy is currently upside down right now. So whether that be your actual mother, a person, a friend in your life, just your inner ability to be able to do that, as a collective, we have that upside down right now. And I just kept hearing lack mentality. So this card was in the position of the overall energy, which just really took me aback. The Empress is normally like, think of like harvest time. And even though we're a little past that point, it's like something didn't come to fruition the way we thought, or a certain crop we were depending on didn't make it, or someone that used to be there isn't there, or something we counted on is like something we use to sustain ourselves is changing or changed, or just the very structure of the way daily life works. Like the values are shifting and changing, and then that could be bringing up all this fear that's interfering. So the Empress reverse coming out behind the Ace of Cups reverse seemed very supportive of one another. That's not quite the right word, but it's an echoing of the energies. And also with Empress reversed, there's this message too, or caution of don't self-sacrifice for another. I know that is prominent in this deck. That might not be a general reversed reading for this card, but since I'm using this deck, it just seemed like there was a message of put your own oxygen mask on first. Very much so. And don't feel like bad if that's what you need to do. And as I say that, I apologize if you could hear my dog in the background. She was like breathing really loudly. So just let that be a reminder to take a deeper breath. Or if I don't know if you can hear it or not, or if I can edit it out or not, but just let that be a background soundtrack ASMR to remind yourself to breathe a little deeper. Because if we're feeling just an overall, a collective lack mentality about how to afford things, how to sustain ourselves, shifting values, wanting to like go in a new direction, but having hesitation and fear, and then, you know, that just not knowing how to ground that into reality at this time, those cards just really fit together well. And that message, I feel like that was one of the main messages I felt I needed to share beyond just my eyes seeing it. Like, I don't feel like that was a message just for me. You know, and it can be extra exhausting in eclipse windows. And so this just permission to like rest more than maybe you feel comfortable with. But then that's such a hard juxtaposition if, well, where's the money coming from, or how am I going to afford, you know, it's the overall energy of, it just seems to be saying like, breathe, get the blood oxygenated. Where can you give nurturance to yourself, and then where can you find this deeper grounding masculine energy? And those three cards fit the story. And then the next question I asked was the next two cards, reversals. There were a lot of reversals in this reading, and when I actually went to upload the picture, it I flipped it the other way, and then I was like, no, wait, that's not right. But the interesting thing is that there's three reversal cards that are all still positive omens. So like that Ace of Cups is still a positive new beginning. It just is maybe like not as, it's like lacking flow. And so what's interesting is the Six of Wands reversed came up as the next question, which is this like lack of flow. It's normally a very confident, flowy. The confidence is, the confidence and communication is lacking as it corresponds to a soul connection, and or you know, they're both sixes, but the Lovers relates to Gemini. Which the archetype can be known to be superficial, But I would say more that it relates to Mercury, is the ruler of Gemini, which is communication. So some kind of communication interference as it relates to creative energy, which is life force energy, and or just the ability to create something beautiful in your life or with another, the third thing. Or that could also be the sexual energy as well. So like again, this interference, which is interesting, that the Ace of Cups had a root chakra, which is the base of the spine, the first chakra, and then the orange ribbon is indicating the second chakra, like a blockage here with it being reversed. Now, having said that, the Lovers card reversed is still positive, and in this deck, it's the cute little seahorses if you're looking at the screen, and his little nose is on the third eye. So I don't know if that's saying there's an interference with, like you need to be true to your own vision. And, you know, it's like there's this warning with the Empress reversed too of not being impatient and superficial. That's getting mirrored in these cards of the don't be superficial, because, you know, they're in the seahorses they're in the water. They're almost in that water behind the Empress reversed. They're in the sea, the unconscious, the fluid. So the what's not fluid, what's not being said, what's lacking flow, like where is there maybe not a confidence to speak up, around like what there's something about like a soul connection or union. You know, this could be within yourself, this could be romantic or not, it could be an animal, any kind of soul connection. Like what is blocking the ability to what am I trying to say here? What wants to be said here? It just feels like there's a missing piece to the puzzle. And finding that puzzle piece could help transform this connection. And this was in the position of the advice. So the advice is to like have the hard conversation, go deep with it. But then also there's this loving embrace of like, I see you, I see who you are at your essence, and like the intention is to get back to a flow within, so that life force energy is not stagnating, shut down, numbed out. So a lot of messages around like don't numb out, don't dissociate, don't be just be aware of if there's repression happening because of fear, how to deal with the fear, how to deal with the just, you know, because the second chakra can also be the nervous system. So like where you dysregulated and or not feeling safe, that there could be a message of what acknowledging the fears that are keeping you shut down, and then a conversation around like what do you need to feel safe to move forward or strengthen the connection or let the connection be flowing again. And then I believe as I was shuffling, that 10 of Swords fell out on the floor, and it didn't fall up or down, it just fell sideways. That's why it's sitting there. And it has a green ribbon through it. So I also feel like the way I set it down is pointing up to those seahorses. So this could be I just get like that there needs to be a heart healing with the Lover's card, and then a sacral chakral healing with the Six of Wands. So like nervous system healing, creative life force sexual healing, and a heart healing together. And that's going to help set down a burden you've been carrying. So if the Ten of Wands was upright, it would just be like, this is the end, it's too painful, cut it off. If it was reversed, it would be saying like, well, you're coming out of this difficult situation. So since we don't know, and it fell on the floor, I just felt like it was worth noting. And if the advice can be followed, there can be a releasing of this heavy burden that your heart's been carrying. Like what's been making you feel unsafe, and how can you unburden your heart around it? And then the next card I pulled was the Ten of Pentacles reverse, which is our third card that is still a good omen in a reversed position, that has to do with earth energy and financial abundance and stability. You know, like in the traditional tarot, it's like the happy home, the kids playing under the rainbow, happy wife, happy life. But in this reading, it seemed to be echoing that lack mentality of if you look at the card, the sand dollars, the way they're in a pentacle, it feels very top heavy. So it was kind of like, what is top heavy in your life that needs to be in more of a balance as it relates to earthy material things. And then I had recently done a reading where it was a different deck with a different reversal of the Ten of Pentacles. And in that deck, I mean, it was like the day before this card pull. It was saying how, you know, like normally that's the height of success, but it was this reminder that it was a reminder that, you know, like sometimes when you get what you want, it either isn't what you thought it would be, and or it doesn't last. So I feel like the reversal is calling forth to those issues of if things are changing in the physical world, sometimes the appearance or the temporal field, it doesn't last, but it's asking what does last. You know, and then in the prior cards, it's saying like, well, dig a little beneath the surface to get to the heart and soul of a connection. So this message coming through of what, even as things shift and change dramatically, the essence is still like what remains. Like how do you know, if everything is spinning apart at the wheels, that center spoke is still there. So how do you get back to your center, and where in your life is things top heavy, and you don't want it to be top heavy or it's going to topple. So there was a message of that, even though the other message that this could be would be like, there is financial security and abundance, it just doesn't feel that way for X, Y, and Z reasons. So again, how to come back to this center, to this nurturing, to this grounding, to this like facing what's coming up and moving through it, having the conversations, just not taking what's too heavy into the next phase. and either having a conversation about it and or choosing to set it down, but while honoring the soul connections and what is going to ultimately matter most to you despite the changes. And then the last card I pulled was what's on the other side of this eclipse window, and it got the Sun card, which is one of the most positive cards you can get in the tarot. And this time it was actually upright. And it just seemed to illuminate the entire spread. But even more important than it being like a positive omen, it was nice to see that's like what's on the other side of this, working through all of this. There in this deck specifically, that little the beetle is a Kepher, and in this deck it's to become, to emerge. So as the sun shines for the day, it's emerging. So what it is also saying, like all of this to say something new is emerging or becoming. And then why that was so such a nice like end cap to the whole thing, was that I turned over the deck, and then there's this blue butterfly, and that card is the Temperance card, which is just about like it's a major arcana card to balance fire and water, but the message was had less to do with the Temperance card and more to just do with seeing that blue butterfly again, which is transformation and like what wants to emerge, what wants to transform. So it seemed to mirror and echo that, and that's a perfect lead-in to the symbolism of a blue butterfly. Is, they're extremely rare. You don't see a blue butterfly all the time. So butterflies always have this sense of like lightness and freedom. Like they bring us joy when we see them, but this was like something. It's also the whole transformation of the butterfly turning in or coming out of the cocoon. That was part of the image I saw, that it's it's a painful process and no one can help you with it, and you might be trying to kick your leg through something new that's just not as easy as you would hope for it to be, but that there's freedom on the other side of it, and what in you really wants to come through right now, because it's needed. So even though I didn't see a blue butterfly in the wild, it came up. This is the third time I've seen it, so it felt worth sharing. And then on that note, I will briefly share the story of the moose that I encountered, because I feel like it also relates to the beginning of this reading. So at the 333 mark, was on a hike, pretty sleep deprived, trying to reset my energy in nature and ground. Had maybe been hiking for about an hour in the early morning, and I got this intuition where I'm like, I think I might have been like talking through something just silently to myself, or not so silently. And then I was like, I should probably really shut up and just attune to my surroundings. And I felt like right when I said that, I heard a twig snap, and I looked up, and like 15 feet away was this moose, and it was staring right at me, and I froze. I mean, it was really close. And it was aware of me before I was aware of it. Now, it didn't look threatened, but it took me by surprise, and all this adrenaline and fear. I mean, my heart stopped. I have my dog with me. Luckily, there was like a few aspen trees that I was sort of positioned behind that I luckily had a treat in my pocket and got her to sit. And so luckily she wasn't aware. She might have been smelling something, but luckily there was no provocation there. But I felt all this fear come up. And then I had to talk myself down and like not make direct eye contact, right? So this moose is looking right at me and it's wondering what I'm doing. And I'm like, turn towards it, but I'm like, don't make direct eye contact, don't threaten it. And then I had to be like, all right, I need to pull, it'll feel my fear. So I need to like acknowledge the fear is here, take a breath, and then admit like, I'm not a threat to you, you're safe, I'm safe, we're all safe. And I was able to successfully do that and find a calmness and a steadiness and just a stillness. And it continued to watch me. And I didn't make any sudden moves. I didn't try and back away. I think I was just slowly kind of feeding my dog little bits of treats to just kind of keep her distracted. And I really harnessed this everything's okay feeling and sat breathing in the stillness with this moose aware of me and me aware of it, and in awe and reverence. And I think it was a mama moose too, so maybe less threatening than a bull moose, but not if there was a baby nearby or a young one. So I stayed in that stillness and calm and non-threatening energy until she finally moved her head up and quit looking at me directly. And it was very brief, right? She didn't move away. She stood her ground. And then she went back to looking at me. So we just stayed there for a while. And then eventually, it's hard to tell time. I don't know if it was a few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Eventually just slowly, because she was just standing her ground, I just slowly was like, okay, we're going to go the other way. And she watched me the whole time. And I was just like, please don't start. Like, luckily my dog was as cooperative as she could be. There were no issues there. And then I think I kept slowly looking back over my shoulder, and she was watching me the whole time until eventually we got out of sight. I just turned around. I was like, we're not even gonna try and pass her, because she was right off the trail, like 10 feet off the trail. And then went and sat and just, it reset. It was a pattern interrupt, and it reset everything. And I just feel like it's so special because I haven't seen a moose for a couple years, other than like on the side of the road or off in the distance. I haven't had like an encounter like that. So that felt worth sharing, just because, the if you were to look up the wisdom of like, or the symbolism of seeing a moose in the wild, there would be a message of stand your ground, go at your own pace. They're majestic, wise animals, but then what happened in the encounter of that, like, flash of adrenaline, a lot of fear, something unexpected, and to be able to just be like, okay, what would make the situation worse and what would help the situation, and then adjusting accordingly to what would help the situation, de-escalate the situation, keep it calm, find your center, which came up in the reading, find the groundingness, find the we're safe here. And I was even emitting that to her clairvoyantly, of just like, I'm not a threat, mean no harm. Sometimes I'll even apologize to animals for, I'm like, well, you have every right to be suspicious of humans. But yeah, I feel like there's something in that someone needs to hear, or that it would be helpful as far as whatever you're encountering in your world. And um, so the blue butterfly and the moose. It's kind of an interesting combination, right? You wouldn't think to put those two together. Um, and then it being I mean, I was so adrenalized at the time. I can't remember if it had horns or not. Um, but I do remember it was older. So I think it was an older mama moose. And that back to that nurturance and protecting what you love. There's a message there too, right? Because she's like got her eye on me. What is this girl with blue hair and a and a black dog doing? Um, and then just how to navigate the situation in a way that doesn't cause any damage to anyone. So that feels complete for this reading. If you made it through it, and all my ums and ahs and stuttering, I just wanted to say thank you. And this reading in particular took a little bit more, even though you'd think it would be less hard since I'm not recording it live, it's just been a whole nother endeavor. But I'm wishing you well during the eclipse portal season. I wish you rest, I wish you good health, and I wish you a beautiful new beginning on the other side, like the blue butterfly. And I'll just end on the last thing was all this, like doing this beautiful recording, it getting lost and not saved through this program I was using that I didn't know would do that, and then getting frustrated and like almost giving up on the whole thing, but not wanting to give up on the whole thing. Went on another hike yesterday, again to clear and just again align with nature in her infinite intelligence and grounding instead of the mind. And again, heard a twig snap, and then looked up, and this time it was a single deer, and such a different essence. The deer, this gentle, fragile, but just genuinely. I still feel awe, but it's not that reverence of like, it's not that reverent fear. It's just this more like, aw, like, and it was again looking directly at me. So this message of directness coming through, but there was a gentleness to it. And I kind of did the same thing with the moose, I just stood still and I reassured it that it was safe in my presence and it was an honor to see, and it didn't run away. So I got to stand there in union with it for quite a while, which was really special to me, And deers are all about family. Oh, that was the other thing with that Ten of Pentacles reversed. That could be an issue with a family member that needs some love and tenderness. Or let go of, either, whichever applies to you, and you likely know what that is. But we stood there so long staring at each other. It was almost like this, like, I don't know, it was such like a friendly energy. And I just took it as like such an honor that it didn't run out of fear, even though my dog was a little bit more active this time. And I think I walked her, like I walked 5 feet and then would stop, and then it was still just watching us. And maybe they're a little bit more docile in that because it's a state park, so it's not as afraid of being hunted. But I think I did apologize on behalf of whatever reason the animal kingdom would have to fear humans, especially ones that hunt for sport, and did this deep apology. And it seemed like it knew me. And then after doing that so long, kept going. And then I turned around and it was still watching me. And at that moment I said, "What's your name?" And those of you that know me or have ever gone on a hike with me, I often do this thing where if I see an animal, I'll ask its name, and just whatever goofy thing pops into my head, I just run with it. and I heard fragile. And then I go, well, is there a message, fragile? And right then it lifted its nose as if it was smelling something, and the sun came out and shone on its face, and it looked like it was smiling. So I'll end it there.